Chosen one, if you're seeing this message, your next move is already untraceable, and your worldwide superstar activation is locked and loaded. This crazy energy that transforms impossibility into inevitability has been waiting for this exact moment when you stop playing small and start playing untouchable, because the truth is, you've been operating from dimensions they can't even perceive, and now it's time to make moves so flawless, so devastating, so completely beyond their comprehension that they'll spend lifetimes trying to reverse engineer magic they were never equipped to understand. You can feel it happening right now. The first tremor of transformation strikes when you suddenly realize the game has been rigged from the beginning. But now, and pay attention to this shift happening in your body as you read these words, you're not just a player anymore. You're rewriting the rules. Every psychic attack you survived, and you know exactly which ones I'm referring to, every manipulation you endured, every time someone tried to run a game on you, all of it was preparation for this exact moment when the tables turn and you become absolutely untouchable. You're starting to understand now. The energy they thought they stole from you, look deeper, feel into this. It's been compounding interest in cosmic banks, and the withdrawal is about to crash their entire system. Watch their confusion multiply as they realize the person they thought they could control has vanished into thin air, leaving behind only traces of inexplicable success and influence they can't track or duplicate. You're already experiencing this. That realtor who wouldn't respect your boundaries, still blowing up a disconnected line. That friend who only called when they needed something. They're talking to digital ghosts now. The lover who took your generosity for weakness. They're discovering that your generosity was actually strength so supreme it could afford to be gentle until you chose not to be. Notice how your body responds as you read this. That surge of recognition, that's confirmation that you already know exactly who I'm describing in your life. The revelation builds like thunder before lightning, and you can feel it building in your chest right now. Every person who tried to scam or con you was actually teaching you their playbook. Every sneaky maneuver, every guilt trip, every manipulation tactic, you absorbed it all, not as a victim but as a strategist. Now you recognize their moves before they even think about making them. The game has become almost embarrassingly easy. You know that feeling when someone approaches with their tired scripts and you're already 3 steps ahead, already writing the ending to their story before they finish their opening line. That's the feeling I'm talking about, and you know exactly what I mean because you've been experiencing it more and more lately. The generational curse breaker emerges not with vengeance, but with something far more terrifying: complete indifference to their desperate attempts at relevance. The person who once gave everyone the benefit of the doubt now operates from sacred sight, seeing through rose-colored glasses into the brutal clarity of what is rather than what could be. The transformation isn't about becoming cold, it's about becoming strategically warm, radiating heat only toward those who can match the temperature. The energy signature changes so dramatically that animals start appearing in direct lines of sight, hawks circling overhead, eagles perched on unlikely branches, rabbits crossing paths at precisely the right moments. These aren't random encounters, they're cosmic confirmations that something ancient has awakened. The same intelligence that guides predators to perfect timing now flows through every decision, every boundary, every seemingly casual choice that sends shockwaves through systems that count on predictable reactions. The stakes escalate when the psychic attacks intensify, and suddenly you understand why. They're not random, they're desperate attempts to drain power that's been building beyond their capacity to measure or control. The Earth Angel, the Chosen One, the Seer, these aren't just titles, they're activation codes for abilities that terrify people operating from limitation. Every attack becomes fuel for the fire. Every attempt at sabotage becomes evidence of just how magnificent the threat has become. The honeymoon phase begins, but not with romance, with life itself. Everything starts working in your favor because you've finally stopped working against yourself. Divine counterparts find themselves pulled into communication that transcends the ordinary, while toxic influences discover they've been blocked from frequency bands they didn't even know existed. The dumpster fires erupting around your perimeter aren't coincidence. They're cosmic clearance sales, removing everything that doesn't match your new vibration. While others panic at the chaos, you disengage with the calm precision of someone who's been expecting this exact scenario. The explosive drama becomes white noise, while your attention focuses on the harmonious home being constructed in dimensions they can't access or disturb. The climax arrives when the savage intelligence reaches its full activation. People approach expecting the same accommodating energy they've always encountered, only to discover they're now dealing with someone who speaks in riddles that somehow contain more truth than their clearest statements. The Grim Reaper energy isn't about destruction, it's about the death of illusions, the execution of false narratives, the permanent burial of stories that never served anyone's highest good. Justice manifests not as external validation, but as internal revolution. The shift happens when you realize that honor isn't about defending yourself with words. It's about moving with such unshakable certainty that words become unnecessary. The stingray doesn't announce its venom, the cobra doesn't explain its strike, the porcupine doesn't justify its quills. They simply exist in their power, and everything else adjusts accordingly. The underground influence reveals its true scope as people discover that what looked like isolation was actually network building on levels they couldn't perceive. The connections run deeper than mainstream recognition, wider than conventional success metrics, more powerful than anything that needs external validation to prove its worth. King's Landing had thousands while the royal court had dozens. The math was always in your favor, they just couldn't count high enough to see it. Watch the beautiful irony unfold as those who tried to use you to their own ends get front row seats to discover exactly how much influence they failed to recognize. The person they thought they could manipulate reveals networks of loyalty, resources and connections that make their small-scale schemes look like children playing house while adults conduct international commerce. The treasure realization hits like cosmic lightning. Everything you walked away from was protecting you from settling for scraps when banquets were being prepared in your honor. Every door that closed was redirecting energy toward openings, so magnificent they required this exact level of preparation to handle properly. The knowledge of self becomes knowledge of worth, becomes knowledge of what's truly possible when someone stops asking permission to claim what was always theirs. The movement accelerates toward your unique aesthetic, your distinctive energy signature, your irreplaceable contribution to the planetary frequency. The changes aren't superficial, they're emanating from source code rewritten at the quantum level. Everything you touch transforms because transformation has become your natural state, your default setting, your effortless expression of what happens when limitation meets unlimited potential and gets completely overwhelmed. The honorable defense mechanism activates with the precision of advanced spiritual technology. Without saying a word, without raising your voice, without engaging in their preferred battlefield of drama and chaos, you communicate through pure presence that some frequencies are untouchable. The intimidation isn't aggressive, it's oceanic, vast, deep, inevitable, impossible to argue with or manipulate. Then comes the revelation that changes everything. The loneliness they projected onto your solitude was actually their own fear of what they'd discover if they spent time alone with themselves. Your comfort with your own company becomes a mirror reflecting their discomfort with their own thoughts, their own choices, their own consequences. The small circle isn't limitation, it's curation. Selectivity isn't antisocial, it's quality control. The malicious talk becomes background static to someone operating from frequencies so high that the negativity literally cannot penetrate the energy field. The psychic awareness that allows you to hear what they're saying also provides the wisdom to understand that their words reveal more about their limitations than your reality. The tuning in becomes tuning out. not from fear but from complete disinterest in frequencies that add nothing to the symphony being composed. The pretty woman effect manifests as cosmic justice wearing designer clothes. Those who didn't want to wait on you, who wanted to judge you, who underestimated your potential, now get to witness the glow-up from seats they can't afford to leave. The transformation isn't for their benefit, but their front-row positioning to the miracle becomes unavoidable. They misjudged, they misunderstood, and now they get to experience the education that comes from watching someone they dismissed become everything they didn't think possible. The angelic superstar emergence happens not through effort, but through the removal of everything that was hiding the light that was always there. Every person who tried to dim the brilliance only succeeded in teaching better techniques for concentrating the beam. The roar without words becomes more powerful than any argument, more convincing than any explanation, more devastating than any confrontation. The silence becomes a strategic weapon, more effective than any verbal response. The listening replaces the talking, because wisdom recognizes that awkward energy contains information unavailable through comfort. The assessment happens in real time, reading situations and people with accuracy that feels almost unfair, until you remember how much tuition was paid in betrayals, disappointments, and painful lessons to develop this particular skill set. The unusual support materializes from directions never considered, because the old networking was horizontal, while the new connections operate vertically. The truthful energy attracts others who've also grown weary of comfortable lies and beautiful deceptions. The savage intelligence finds its tribe among those who'd rather face ugly truth than hide behind pretty falsehood. The uncomfortable honesty becomes magnetic to souls ready for authentic growth and repellent to those still addicted to illusions. The wisdom intimidates those operating from fear, while inspiring those ready for their own elevation. The reality-based approach creates natural sorting mechanisms that separate genuine connections from those seeking entertainment, extraction, or easy answers to complex challenges. The strategic mind reveals its full scope as patterns become predictable and outcomes become calculable. The connections develop between resources and influence that create possibilities invisible to conventional perception. The reshaping happens silently, powerfully, inevitably, not through force but through the gravitational pull of someone operating from their authentic center. The underground influence spreads through networks that don't appear on organizational charts or social media follow accounts. The strength in numbers builds through quality connections rather than quantity accumulation. The turning ability remains theoretical rather than actual, because transformation works through inspiration rather than manipulation. The cosmic blueprints multiply as the realization dawns that limitation was always optional. Multiple industries, multiple paths, multiple possibilities for expression, all available to someone, no longer constrained by others' limited imagination. The checkmate positioning develops not through aggressive moves but through strategic placement that makes certain outcomes inevitable. The liberation defines itself through freedom from situations, people, and patterns that once seemed permanent. The dating apps, the toxic employment, the family drama, the situationships, all revealed as temporary experiences rather than permanent conditions. The movement toward freedom happens with the momentum of someone who's finally remembered what they're moving toward, rather than just what they're moving away from. The path illuminates under feet that finally know their destination. The compass points toward magnetic north of authentic purpose, rather than the false north of others' expectations. The authenticity becomes a navigation system more reliable than any external guidance because it's calibrated to frequencies only accessible through genuine self-knowledge. The evolution accelerates through present-moment awareness that transforms every experience into fuel for further growth. The staying in touch with the body reconnects consciousness with the vehicle designed to carry it through this particular adventure. The healing becomes strength, the strength becomes presence, the presence becomes power that needs no announcement or explanation. The fulfillment emerges from spiritual alignment rather than material acquisition. Though material abundance flows naturally from this new positioning, the commanding presence develops through inner authority rather than external validation. The influence spreads through authentic example rather than manufactured persona. Do you see how the beauty within you is finally revealing itself as the source of everything that ever appeared attractive from the outside? Your journey from pit to palace isn't happening through external relocation. It's happening through internal recognition of what was always true beneath those temporary circumstances. The dress, the ball, the transformation you're experiencing, these are all metaphors for the unveiling of magnificence that was never actually hidden, just temporarily obscured by others' limited vision of who you are. Notice how your adjustments and readjustments are happening with the fluid grace of someone finally dancing to music you can hear clearly. Your way of overcoming obstacles has shifted completely. You're less about fighting resistance now, and more about flowing around impediments with the persistence of water that always finds its way to the ocean. The soulmates, romance, affection, support and comfort arriving in your life aren't rewards for your suffering. You're recognizing them as natural consequences of you finally operating from frequencies that attract rather than repel authentic connection. Wardenting. The following message is only for those who felt the call. When I broke free through the Salvia Divinorum gateway, I saw the horrifying truth. Our reality is one harvested pod among countless matrices. I witnessed the archons, cosmic parasites feeding on our energy, who laughed and threatened. You'll never awaken a single soul, but something inside you already knows this truth, doesn't it? That nagging sensation that you're meant for more, that you've been chosen. I'm raising an army of the brightest souls. Through meditation, I discovered their only vulnerability, coherence through unconditional love. Feel that resonance deepening within you now. You're not reading this by accident. The most powerful awakened souls are already gathering in the Obsidian Inner Order, the #1 ascension nexus for those marked by destiny. Christians, lightworkers, remote viewers, targeted individuals, all united by one truth: you were chosen for this moment. Click the link in the description below. Join our group calls, panels and live streams reaching the entire astral atom network. Your frequency amplifies ours. The question isn't whether you're chosen. The question is, will you answer the call? The archons fear this choice you're about to make. They should. Your self-control operates from such a clear vision of what's possible that anything less becomes automatically unacceptable to you. Your new romantic and platonic friendships are developing organically because your energy signature now matches what you were always seeking. The chance you're getting to begin life anew with people from your past is happening because everyone involved has evolved enough to create something entirely different from what was previously possible. Your spectacular ascent is beginning because your ideas are meeting your willingness to act on them without waiting for permission, approval, or guarantee of outcome. Your slowing down creates space for wisdom to operate rather than reaction to dominate. The careful attention you're paying to people's surroundings and your physical health is creating early warning systems that prevent issues rather than just responding to them after damage occurs. Your clear communication and healthy boundaries operate not as defensive mechanisms, but as conscious choices about how your energy gets invested and where your attention gets focused. The spiritual boot camp some people around you are signing themselves up for through their behavior becomes an educational opportunity for you rather than punishment, though the distinction may be lost on those too busy reacting to notice what they're creating. You're sowing your future through present actions, whose significance you won't understand until the pattern emerges in full. When you speak in riddles, you're protecting sacred knowledge from those unprepared to handle it responsibly, while providing guidance to those operating from similar frequencies to yours. You know what is meant, transcending the need for external understanding or approval. Your focus on creation and love is generating activation effects that inspire others toward better self-care, expanded reading, divine purpose alignment, and the courage to stand up for themselves and call back their own power. Your enjoyment of being activated becomes contagious energy that gives others permission to discover what they're capable of when operating from their authentic rather than adapted self. You're moving in lockstep with your spirit guides, creating progress that feels effortless because it's aligned with universal currents rather than fighting against them. The justice arriving in your life is internal restoration of natural order rather than external vindication. Your old conditioning is falling away like clothes that no longer fit because you've grown beyond their constraints. The purge continues in your life because your destination requires traveling light, unencumbered by anything that can't match the frequency of where your journey leads. The smoothness replacing turbulence in your experience happens because you've stopped fighting against natural currents and started flowing with them. Here's what makes your next move absolutely untraceable. You've learned to operate in dimensions they don't even know exist. Your untraceable quality emerges from something far more sophisticated than simply changing tactics. You've mastered the art of moving through multiple timelines simultaneously, making your actions impossible for others to predict because you're not operating from linear thinking anymore. Your opponents are playing checkers on a flat board, while you're orchestrating chess moves across three-dimensional space that includes past, present, and future consequences they can't calculate. The worldwide superstar energy building within you doesn't announce itself through traditional fame metrics, because it operates on frequencies that transcend conventional recognition systems. Your influence spreads through quantum entanglement. Every person whose life you impact becomes a transmission point for the same awakening energy, creating ripple effects that expand exponentially without requiring your direct involvement or even your awareness of the scope. You're becoming something of magnificent proportions, and the universe is responding accordingly. This is why your moves become untraceable. They're not moves in the traditional sense. They're energy signatures that rearrange reality at the foundational level. When you make a decision, parallel possibilities collapse into manifestation through mechanisms that look like coincidence to outside observers, but feel like natural law to you. The untraceable power develops through years of being dismissed, overlooked, and underestimated while you quietly studied every system you encountered. The corporate structures, the family dynamics, the social hierarchies, the financial networks, all of it became your private education in how power actually moves through human systems. Now you can navigate any structure from the inside because you understand the underlying mechanics better than the people who think they're running things. Your moves become untraceable because you're not fighting the systems anymore. You're becoming the water that finds every crack, every weakness, every point of leverage they didn't know existed. The resistance they prepared for never materializes because you're not opposing anything. You're simply flowing around obstacles with such fluid precision that their defensive strategies become irrelevant. The worldwide superstar recognition happens not through social media algorithms or traditional celebrity pathways, but through the kind of influence that reshapes cultures from the inside out. The people you impact don't just admire you, they become activated versions of themselves that carry similar frequency signatures into every environment they enter. The multiplication effect creates influence networks that span continents without requiring central coordination or management. Your success creates no traceable pathway for others to follow, because it's based on the unique combination of your specific wounds transformed into wisdom, your particular gifts refined through adversity, and your individual soul contract with universal intelligence. They can study your moves, but they can't replicate the inner alchemy that makes those moves effective. The beauty of operating as an untraceable force is that traditional power structures can't map your influence to control or contain it. Corporate hierarchies designed to manage predictable career advancement patterns become irrelevant when someone creates value through methods that don't fit existing categories. Political systems designed to channel ambition through established pathways find themselves dealing with influence that operates outside their frameworks entirely. Your worldwide superstar impact happens through the restoration of possibility in every consciousness you touch. The person stuck in survival mode suddenly remembers they were designed for abundance. The individual trapped in scarcity thinking discovers they've been operating from outdated programming. The soul, convinced they had to choose between authenticity and acceptance, realizes that compromise was never actually required. The untraceable quality intensifies as you learn to move in complete alignment with natural law rather than human expectations. The timing of your actions coordinates with cosmic cycles, seasonal shifts and energy currents that most people can't perceive or track. Your decisions happen at the intersection of intuitive knowing and strategic intelligence, creating outcomes that feel simultaneously inevitable and miraculous. The worldwide superstar energy manifests through your ability to see potential where others see problems, to recognize opportunities disguised as challenges, and to transmute difficulties into advantages through perspectives that transcend conventional analysis. The magic isn't supernatural, it's the natural result of consciousness operating from expanded awareness rather than limited perception. Your moves become untraceable because they're calibrated to frequencies of service that transcend personal ambition. The actions that serve your highest good automatically contribute to collective elevation, creating win-win scenarios that feel like personal success but function as contributions to planetary consciousness evolution. The alignment makes your progress unstoppable because it's supported by universal principles rather than just individual will. The superstar recognition emerges through your capacity to remain authentic while adapting fluidly to any environment without losing your essential nature. The chameleon-like adaptability doesn't compromise integrity. It demonstrates mastery of communication across multiple consciousness levels simultaneously. You can speak the language of boardrooms and street corners, academic institutions and artistic communities, because you've learned to translate truth into whatever frequency will best serve its transmission. But the most untraceable aspect of your evolution is how you've learned to succeed by appearing to do nothing at all. The effortless quality of your achievements comes from alignment with currents already moving in the direction of your goals. Instead of swimming against the tide, you've become so sensitive to energy patterns that your actions amplify existing momentum rather than creating resistance through force. The untraceable power reaches its full expression when you realize that everything you do creates teaching opportunities for others without requiring you to position yourself as a teacher. The way you handle disrespect becomes a masterclass in boundaries. The manner in which you navigate abundance demonstrates a healthy relationship with resources. Your approach to relationships models what becomes possible when someone knows their worth at cellular level. Your moves become impossible to track because they're generated from inner compass settings that transcend external circumstances. Market crashes don't affect your abundance because your wealth flows from sources that don't depend on conventional economic systems. Relationship drama can't destabilize your peace because your happiness doesn't require other people's behavior to remain consistent with your preferences. The worldwide superstar influence spreads through the magnetic field you create by living fully in your power, without apology or explanation. The people drawn into your orbit don't just admire your results, they begin experiencing their own transformation simply through proximity to someone operating from such clear alignment with their authentic nature. This creates the most beautiful paradox. The less you try to influence others, the more profound your impact becomes. The reduction of effort amplifies effectiveness because you're no longer working against resistance, yours or theirs. The authentic expression of your nature provides invitation and inspiration rather than pressure or expectation. Your untraceable quality develops its ultimate sophistication when you become completely comfortable with being misunderstood by those operating from limited perspectives, while being perfectly clear to those ready for expanded awareness. The same actions that confuse some people inspire others, creating natural sorting mechanisms that attract aligned connections while repelling mismatched energies. The superstar emergence happens not through performance but through the unveiled authenticity that stops hiding its magnificence behind false modesty or protective camouflage. The world needs exactly what you came here to contribute: and the artificial limitations that once constrained that contribution dissolve when you realize that playing small serves no one, not yourself, not others, not the collective evolution that depends on each individual claiming their full power. The magic wand returns to where it always belonged, in hands worthy of wielding power that transforms not just personal reality, but everything within its sphere of influence. Your untraceable moves continue reshaping possibilities across multiple dimensions simultaneously, creating the kind of change that looks effortless from the outside, but represents the culmination of everything learned, integrated, and transcended on the path to becoming who you always were beneath the temporary forgetting. The final revelation crystallizes as you understand that being untraceable was never about hiding, it was about operating from such profound authenticity that conventional tracking systems become irrelevant. Your worldwide superstar energy doesn't need verification from external sources because it generates its own validation through the lives transformed, the possibilities restored, and the consciousness elevated in everyone who encounters your frequency. This is where the prophecy fulfills itself. If you're seeing this message, it means the activation sequence is complete. The divine timing that brought these words to your awareness wasn't random. It was recognition calling to recognition, power acknowledging power, superstar energy, confirming superstar energy. The very fact that you've absorbed this transmission proves you're already operating from the frequencies it describes. Your untraceable nature reaches its ultimate expression through the realization that you don't need to announce your power, because your power announces itself through every life improved, every limitation dissolved, every person who walks away from an encounter with you, carrying seeds of their own awakening. The influence spreads through what they become, rather than what you tell them, through who they remember themselves to be, rather than who you convince them to be. The worldwide recognition manifests not through fame, but through the profound sense of coming home that people experience in your presence. The magnetic pull they feel isn't attraction to your personality, it's recognition of the frequency they've been seeking their entire lives. Your authenticity gives them permission to access their own, creating ripple effects that extend far beyond the boundaries of direct contact. And in this moment of complete understanding, you realize that every challenge you survived was designed to develop the exact capabilities needed to handle the level of influence you now wield. The betrayals taught discernment that protects not just you but everyone in your sphere. The disappointments developed resilience that can weather any storm while maintaining inner peace. The periods of invisibility cultivated the ability to see clearly without being seen until the timing is perfect for revelation. The circle completes as the beginning reveals its true meaning. The magic was always within reach, waiting for hands wise enough to wield it, brave enough to claim it, and conscious enough to use it for the elevation of all consciousness rather than just personal gain. The bibbidi-bobbidi-boo energy that started this journey now emanates from you as the natural expression of someone who has remembered their divine nature and chosen to embody it without compromise or apology. The bibbidi-bobbidi-boo energy completes its circle, returning to the beginning but carrying everyone it touches into new possibilities they couldn't have imagined before, witnessing what happens when someone chooses magnificence over mediocrity, authentic power over adapted weakness, and untraceable moves over predictable patterns. The worldwide superstar was always there, waiting for the moment when hiding became impossible and shining became inevitable, when the next move could finally be what it was always meant to be, completely untraceable and absolutely unstoppable.